So here I want to show how I would go about converting a digital JPEG image into some sort of spatial data frame. So I'm going to kind of go through about, I guess, 6 steps here that I try to summarize such that we can convert a digital image into a spatial data frame. So to do so, the basic overflow is we're going to use a GIS application, in this case QGIS, to first georeference the image, and then once the image is georeferenced, we can then trace the polygon regions of interest to convert directly to a shapefile. And so once we have that shapefile defined per that original digital image, we can go ahead and load it into other applications such as R or Python as some sort of spatial object. So to begin, the first thing I suggest doing is downloading QGIS. If you go to QGIS.org, you'll find a link to download the free open source GIS platform. It's pretty useful. So in this case, I'm just going to kind of assume that you can get this installed up and running quickly. There's a couple of dependencies that you may have, but if you don't, I think you have to get GDAL and Matplotlib, but you probably have that for other mapping applications. Okay, so that's step one. The second thing I want you to do is go ahead and install and open up QGIS. And I'm going to go ahead and open up my QGIS. So I'm on this 2.4 version. Okay. And you might get something that looks a little bit like this, more or less, where you have your kind of, I guess first this is your layer pane. You have a bunch of toolbars up at the top, and then this mine's blue, yours is probably white. This is kind of big viewing pane here. This is kind of your the window into your whatever shapefiles you're working with or spatial objects. Okay, but so when you first open it, what I want you to do is go to Plugins and Manage and Install Plugins. And you need an internet connection, but once you're at this plugins menu, go ahead and type in Georeferencer. Okay, and I think this is it, Georeferencer. Georeferencing rasters using GDAL. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. I already have it clicked. That's okay. And then once you have it clicked, I think there'll be an option to install a plugin. Go ahead and do that. You may have to restart. In my case, I already have it, so I don't have to restart. Okay, so that's it. So one, you download QGIS. The second thing, you can open QGIS and make sure you have a Georeferencer plugin set up. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is start on the Delhi project. So in this, we have an idea in Delhi where the distribution licensees operate. Okay, so this is kind of just a general. This is basically the digital image that we want to convert into a usable spatial data frame. It probably exists somewhere, but we don't have access to that right now. So in the meantime, we're going to just go ahead and manually convert this so we can proceed with the research. It's not going to be as accurate, but it'll be pretty good, I think, by the end of this. And we also, and Sonia did provide me with this Delhi shapefile file, so I'm going to go ahead and just load that right into QGIS. So I'm going to go back to my QGIS environment, and then in this top left, on your left ribbon, there's an option to add vector layer. I also think that you can probably do it from like project layer. You can do it from layer, add vector layer, so I'll go ahead and do that. And I'm going to browse to that downloaded data set, the Delhi districts. So go into my downloads folder, converting JPEG images to shapefiles, and here I know this Delhi shapefile.zip is I'm going to load that in as a spatial as a shapefile right here. And it's asking me if I want the KML and the shapefile versions. I can go ahead. I think I'll just load the shapefile one. Okay, there we go. All right, so this looks to be about right for the extents of Delhi. And if I toggle to the district map image, I see that they're pretty similar. The bounds are similar. There's some distortion, but we're going to try to fit this image to the exact Delhi Delhi administrative boundaries as we have here. Okay, so now going back to my overall process, we just finished step 3 where we loaded the Delhi districts shapefile into QGIS, and now I want to start the hard part, the georeferencing of the digital image to its appropriate scale and place on Earth. Okay, so we have this shapefile. This is a spatial type object, and we also have this digital image. It's a JPEG image. It's not spatially referenced, but we're going to go ahead and convert this to a GeoTIFF, so it has some kind of place and scale on planet Earth. So going back to my QGIS environment, I'm going to go to my Raster option, and then I'll see Georeferencer if I install the plugin correctly in Georeferencer. And let's go ahead and open up that tool. So this box, I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. Okay. All right. So here's my Georeferencer option. The first thing we're going to do is go ahead and open up a raster image. So we're going to define this as the JPEG. So I'm going to go open this, and from that I'm going to find the JPEG image that we want to georeference. In this case, it's the licensee areas. So I'm going to load that in. And here, you should pay attention to this. The coordinate reference system selector is going to ask you what kind of projection we're using. Just to be consistent, I'm going to default to WGS84, the EPSG 4326. So I think that's a pretty common one based on lat longs. So go ahead and select that. Okay, so now the Georeferencer tool is giving us this it loaded in this JPEG, and what I want to do is start selecting ground control points on this JPEG image as they refer to the Delhi district's outline. So to start off, I'm going to go ahead and select the Add Point tool here. I'm going to click on a point on the. You can really pick any point inside or outside, but I kind of have an idea that this little nub in the BRPL section corresponds to some area in the district of the district map. So if you know that east and west, the X and Y latitude, longitude, or the coordinates, depending on what projection you're using, you can enter them here manually. But I think what we're really going to do is going to select the points from the map canvas. So I'm going to select from map canvas, and I know I kind of clicked around this area, so I'm going to click again there, and that kind of automatically defines my X and Y coordinates as it corresponds to the map canvas. And I think that's okay. And what I'll see is there's a red dot that appears here in the BRPL section on that lower nub. And if I kind of move this aside a little bit, it also corresponds to a red point there. So I'm really going to do this kind of as a first rough pass, but you should probably be a little bit. I'm not going to be that accurate just for time's sake and just to demonstrate. But when you go ahead and do these ground control points, you want to make sure you can be as accurate as you can, so that this image fits really well, overlays really nicely with our shapefile. I'm going to add 3 more. I think you need at least 4, but I'm going to kind of select the point at this river here, go from the map canvas, and I know that kind of corresponds to this area, and I'll say OK there. So I have 1 point, 2 points defined. I'll do a third up here, select from the map canvas. Yeah, see, this can get a little hard. I'm not actually sure. Cancel that. So let me see if I can find something. Okay, here. I like this. Select this one. Find from the map canvas. That corresponds to that. Okay, that looks about right. And then I'll do this little ingress here in the district. Select from map canvas, and that seems to be about there. Okay, so I have 4 points here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and if I switch to my map canvas, they correspond to 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so let me pull up my Georeferencer tool. And if we look at the general options, we're in the Georeferencer. We're using the Georeferencer tool to convert that digital image to a GeoTIFF. So we picked a bunch of ground control points, and then when those are defined, we're going to start the conversion process. So, okay, cancel that. Okay, so I'm back at the Georeferencer tool, and you go to File, Start Georeferencing. Oh, it's going to ask us for the transformation type. So we'll select OK, and it brings up this transformation settings. So thin plate spline, use that. That's a pretty decent algorithm. The output raster, this is important. We want to define where this is going to be saved as a GeoTIFF. And I'm going to save it in the same folder that we have the original image. I'm going to go ahead and just save it as the Delhi distribution licensee areas, but it's going to be saved as a TIFF because it's a GeoTIFF. Save that, and then everything else is okay. I'll go ahead and load into QGIS when done, and go ahead and say OK. That happened pretty quick, but depending on how many ground control points you have and how hard it is to fit, it may take a little while. So this is done for now, so I'm going to minimize this. And now what I see in my QGIS environment is in my layers menu I have two options, 2 layers. I have the districts and the Delhi distribution licensee area. I can toggle these on and off like that. So I turn Delhi, the GeoTIFF off, and I can see the districts area. Turn it back on, and I see that raster image. And if that's off, I can kind of turn the districts area on and off as well. Yep. Turn that on. Now what I want to do is I really want to be able to see my district shapefile as I'm also looking at the the georeferenced image. So I'm going to change the settings on my Delhi distribution licensee areas GeoTIFF by right-clicking and selecting, I guess, properties. And in properties, on this ribbon you have a bunch of options from like general, style, transparency, and such. I'm going to just change the transparency from 0% up to about 50. Apply that and click OK. And now what we can start to see is this image is a little bit more transparent, and it fits pretty well to our kind of it fits pretty well to the Delhi shapefile. Now, there we go. So that's kind of the hard part, right? Georeferencing the digital image to its appropriate scale and place on Earth. We did that. And now what we can do is make our shapefile that is based upon this this image, this licensee image. So, but we have to do this manually. And once that's done, once we have a new shapefile defined, and we do it manually, then we can go ahead and save it as the licensee boundary area and use that in any other program. So this is the second to last step essentially. So I'm going to go ahead and start this manual shapefile drawing process. So to do that, I'm going to go to Layer, New Shapefile Layer, and here you want to define this this new shapefile layer that you're going to make as a polygon, because in this case we're drawing the boundaries, the administrative boundaries of the licensee areas. You could just as easily make it a line if you were trying to trace the where the power lines are in these licensee areas, or points if you want to know where the generation sources are. But we're doing polygons. Again, this coordinate reference system, let's all keep it consistent. It's important to keep it consistent as this WGS84, this corresponds to latitude, longitudes. You may be using UTMs or other projections, but for this, we just want to stay consistent more than anything else. And then the name. Okay, specify CRS. All right. Oh, this is the name of an attribute. I don't think we need to have an integer attribute, so I'm going to go ahead and remove that. But I will suggest we have a licensee attribute there as text data. So Oh, okay, yeah. So as we, that can be text data with, that sounds okay. All right, so I think we should be okay. Licensee, I'll add that. Okay, so I took the ID away, and I'm adding a licensee attribute. And now we have one attribute defined, we have the projection to polygon. We can go ahead and add this new shapefile layer. And now it's going to also ask us for where we want to save it as a shapefile. I'm going to save it again in our kind of working folder, converting JPEG image to shapefile, and Delhi. Again, I'm going to save it as a Delhi distribution licensee areas, but it's going to be saved as a shapefile. Okay, save that. And now what we have here is a new layer. It has no attributes yet, but it's, we have a shapefile that we can start adding information to. And we know it's a polygon because it's a little polygon kind of image next to the name of the name of the shapefile. Okay, so I've added a new shapefile, and I selected it as a polygon type, and I added an attribute for licensee. But now I'm going to draw over licensee territories by going to toggle editing and adding features. Okay, so now I'm back at my QGIS. I'm going to go ahead and select toggle editing, which is this yellow pencil, a yellow single pencil. And now I can start editing this shapefile. Again, make sure I have this the shapefile I want to edit highlighted. And there's an option here to add feature, and it has a little blob and a star, a compass next to it. I'm going to select add feature, and just kind of left click where every time I want to add a node to this this spatial data frame, and I'm going to go ahead and start tracing the the administrative boundary of this licensee area that I'm interested in. Okay, and so I'm just left clicking at all these kind of the nodes that I think would outline this area, and I'm getting pretty detailed here, but and then I think the trick is when you start adding more. So it works like this. Okay, so to end it, okay, say I want to, so you see I have this, this last node, I want to end it where I started it. So I think I can just click on where I started it twice. Oh no, it doesn't work like that. Well, I think it's a right click to end. Okay, so you left click to add nodes, and you right click for the final node. And the licensee here, it's asking me for licensee. I think that's BRPL, I'll say. Yeah, BRPL. Okay, add that, and now I have one licensee area defined. Let's go ahead and just add a second. And I think this is where the trick is, because you want these to kind of not overlap or not have gaps. So there's an ability to kind of snap. When I draw my next point here, make my next polygon, I can snap to the original. And you'll notice that this node highlights from a red X to a purple plus. And you may have to, if to adjust these snap settings to make sure that happens, you go to QGIS, Preferences, and in digitizing, there's some snapping options available. This is 0.01 map units. I don't know what that refers to. I don't know if my map units are in kilometers or meters, but it kind of refers to the basic map unit. Is there a way to tell? Anyway, so you adjust these until you get it right. But I don't want to mess with mine at all, so I keep that 0.01. And then, but here now I'm going to start drawing my next polygon, but such that it overlaps, it intersects perfectly. Oh, cancel. Oh, here's a trick. Okay, so I guess what I wanted to do, I wanted to zoom out by scrolling in and out. Okay, and I can pan left and right by selecting the pan tool. But let me go ahead and switch back to my add feature tool and start snapping to the nodes of the already established boundary areas. And then there's some areas I don't want it to snap to. Okay, so that's a little tricky. That's going to be the finicky part. So, but you have to play with your snapping settings and click and drag. So I'm going to pretend like the reason that's happening is I was kind of scrolling inadvertently as I was clicking. But you scroll in and out to zoom in and out as well. And I'm going to right click and say that's pretty good. And I'm going to call that BYPL. Okay. All right, so that's kind of the overall process. For now, I'm going to go ahead and save it. And then I'm going to toggle off editing. And what I have here now is if I select these features by just, I have polygons that represent now my BYPL and BRPL territories, and I can do the other three, or I'll leave it to you actually to do. And then, and once I have that shapefile kind of defined, again, so I can turn off everything. This is the districts. This is our original, the GeoTIFF, which we're using to base it on. Okay, so I can turn it on and off. And here is our, and here's a new shapefile we're making, which is a kind of inherently spatial object. And this, yeah, it kind of corresponds nicely to the districts area actually. But anyway, so this is what we're going to use. So I'll leave this on, and I'm going to go ahead and right-click it, save as before I exit, and browse again back to this whole working folder and save it as our Delhi distribution licensee area. Save it, replace. Go ahead. I cannot overwrite this. I think that's okay. I think it's actually just inherently saving every time we click this Save Layer Edits button. So I can just make sure that's true. I'm going to close this without saving the project because the files are saved, but this whole project I won't save it because I want to prove a point. And I'll go back to the working directory, and now I see that we have the shapefile. I'm going to double click it and open this. The shapefile, remember, has like 4 or 5 different components, like the SHX, projection, the QPL, the database object. But anyway, so when I open the Delhi distribution licensee area, we start to see what we were working on before. Okay, and then we could import that to GIS programs, or in our case, R, so we can have a spatial data frame and start subsetting, Delhi populations per licensee territories. So I'm going to quit this, and I'm going to go back to my instructions, and now we have this new Polygon shapefile that we can use as an R spatial data frame. Mission accomplished. I'll leave it to you to be more accurate and precise in defining this as a spatial object, but it's kind of a one-time thing and part of the research to move forward and kind of make sure we're thinking about things in terms of the Delhi distribution scheme. All right, hopefully that helps, and I'll be available for any questions, but I just wanted to show you this tutorial via video rather than describing it. Okay, bye.